I want to start doing a mini Matt podcast. Hopefully you can hear me, or the mic's picking up, or my phone. Hopefully my phone is picking up my voice well enough. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. In regards to what I want to share, I have a lot of introspections. I do a lot of thinking. I learn a lot of lessons as I go through this journey of life, and I like sharing it. I feel very grateful that I get to learn these lessons and improve upon myself, but sharing it is also nice too because it often resonates with people. Sometimes it helps people too. But also too, talking about it also just helps me internalize it better as well. But also a big thing that I would like to achieve with something like this is I want to get better at talking about it and verbalizing it. I'll do a lot of this thinking and it'll make sense in my head a lot of the time, but sometimes I'll try to actually verbalize it and it just comes out as jumbly muck. Makes no sense. I'm jumping all over the place, and sometimes it'll be so bad that I'll think to myself, bro, I'm just thinking a bunch of bullshit. I feel like I didn't even come to any sort of conclusion. Maybe I'm just crazy. That's how bad at least it feels for me when I talk about stuff like this. But in truth, I do have there's a lot of substance within what I think about. I think at least. I do learn a lot of good lessons. Still learning a lot too. But I just want to get better at talking about it and having it be more comprehensive. I want to sound... Sorry, I thought I heard my name. But right now I'm at the park. I must confess, I've actually tried recording this 5 times now. A lot of times in the car. I just came from the gym. But those times that I tried, I just didn't like it. But thinking about it now, I think just the act of repeating it and trying to get it perfect is something that it kind of goes against what I want out of something like this. I want to be able to be better at talking about stuff like this. Be better with handling the spontaneity of it and just be more eloquently spoken. Also too, the videos that I recorded were like 28 minutes long, and as I was driving home, I saw this very pretty sunset, and I thought one thing that would sort of encourage me and push me to babble less and talk random junk less is to have a sort of time limit, and my time limit is waiting until it gets too dark to be out here. And I get a little nice view in the camera. So, in regards to what I want to talk about, I want to talk about... Oh, first of all, if I were to do more of these, I have 2 rules for myself. The first rule is that I'll mention what I want to talk about, but I gotta make sure that I explain what's going on within my life at that moment. I make this rule because I would do a lot of introspection and thinking on my Finsta. I'd write a lot of stuff, but recently I was looking back at it, and a lot of the times I couldn't even remember what I was talking about or what was going on around that time, because I just wouldn't explain it. I would just explain what I learned, and that's helpful too. But I want to be able to know what I was feeling, how bad I was going through it, to be able to better relate and understand the lesson at a deeper level. So I will be talking about what's going on within my time. I'll be explaining what's going on around the time that I'm recording the video, so that future Matthew can look back and better relate to past Matthew. Sunset's going away. But yeah, that's rule 1, and then rule 2 is just talk about what I want to talk about, and don't be embarrassed. This is just for practice. the only way to get better at talking is to practice it more. So that's what I'm gonna do. But like I said before, I want to talk about how to get out of a rut. And in regards to what I mean by a rut, um, during many points in everyone's lives, for sure. Well, maybe there's some people that don't have this, but I imagine most people do. There's going to be a point in their life when their life just feels so crappy. Um, there's the very common phrase, it feels as if the world is working against them, as if it's preying on their downfall in a way. Um, what it feels like, at least for me, is that applies to everything. Feels like it's going to shit. The world's against me. It feels as if I'm just going through constant L's. I'm taking so many L's, and it feels like it just sucks. I'm super depressed. I'm super anxious. There's so much negativity. And I actually went through a rut recently, the last 2 weeks. And at the moment, I'm actually getting out of that rut. But I think this instance was significant for me. I've gone through ruts in the past, but this instance was significant for me because it's the first time where I've actually been actively aware of the different efforts that I'd make and what is going on at that time that's contributing towards getting me out of the rut. More just gaining more clarity on how to get out of a rut. And I think it's something that I'm proud of. But okay, I'm not gonna ramble too long. I'm just gonna go into it. Like I said, last 2 weeks I went through a really big rut. Um, I've been What I have on my plate is a few things, but my biggest one that's of top urgent priority is my nursing school applications. I have essays that are due on April 1st for Samuel Merritt Nursing School. And that's sucked. I hate, oh my god, I hate writing essays. I feel so bad at it. But that's been sucking really bad. I've been procrastinating it for a really long time. Particularly in these last 2 weeks. I think I've just been doing a lot of it's just scary. And it's hard to get myself to do it. That's something I struggle with a lot, procrastination. I don't know what it is. I feel like I look too deep into it. I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I think about it a lot, and I think about why it is, or what in particular it is that I'm avoiding, and why it is that I want to avoid it. What makes it uncomfortable. Um, there's a few things. There's a lot of when I think of completing my nursing school essay, there's feelings of incompetency, feeling as if I'm not qualified to get into nursing school, or that I suck at writing essays, and that all the effort that I do to write this essay will succumb, or will amount to nothing. No matter the effort I put into it, it will just come out to nothing. It'll come into mush. That feeling comes up. Incompetency. There's a lot of anxiety too, just the idea that I don't get into nursing school, or that the essay just sucks. There's also the anxiety of the fact that I'm even procrastinating it. I'm spending time doing nothing, and as time goes on, I don't get it back, and that's all the time wasted that I could have been using towards completing my nursing essay. That's scary. That creates a lot of anxiety within me. Just a lot of negativity. And I think the one thing about this rut in particular, and okay, let me actually provide more information on how bad this rut is. It was actually very depressing. It was like 2 weeks of literally doing absolutely nothing. There's no exercise. I was in bed literally all day. I slept all day. I was on YouTube watching YouTube videos. I would be doom scrolling. That's literally what my days consisted of, aside from non-negotiable like responsibilities I had to do. Every now and then I tried my best to go out and like visit people that are close to me, that give me joy. But one thing that I would sort of hide from everyone, my parents, my family, the people close to me, I was not doing very well, and I was not doing a single thing. Uh, it was 2 weeks and nothing. And the thing about that is, whenever you go through a rut, I think this relates a lot, or this is very prominent within procrastination, this sort of aspect I'm about to explain, but I think it applies to all ruts. A lot of the times, if I'm in a rut and I feel stuck, it's almost as if I already know exactly what I need to do. I already know the steps to get out of a rut. I already know the steps that go towards solving whatever is creating this suffering. Yet there's this unbreakable, oddly strong internal force that just keeps me from actually wanting to do it or getting myself to do it. It's tough to deal with. In the moment, it feels impossible to actually break and actually, what's it called? It feels impossible to resist. And the only thing I could just resort to was my easy, cheap dopamine fixes, food, scrolling YouTube, sleeping to avoid reality. It felt as if that's the only amount of strength I had, just to resort to my cheap fixes. It sucks being in that place, where, and there's so many bad things going on too. It just felt like I couldn't catch a fucking break. And ultimately, I felt stuck, and it felt impossible to get out of bed and just do the thing that I needed to do. And there's a lot of shame within that too. A lot of shame with knowing that you know the steps you need to take, but it's just you choose not to do it. It feels pathetic. There's a lot of negativity surrounding it. But ultimately, I did manage to find myself out of that rut. And I think, thinking about it now, I feel like I did need those 2 weeks of just nothing. Because up until that point, I think I was reaching I talked about it with my therapist too. I was definitely going through I reached a point of burnout where it felt like all the effort that I put felt, what's the word? Futile. Okay, vocab. It felt all the effort that I could put towards trying to get the things I need to get done would feel futile, and it just wouldn't surmount to anything, which ultimately led to just having no energy to do anything. But it's possible to get out of that mental stuck cycle. And I found, and this is actually something I hear very often, but the way I got out of it was just, after catching so many L's, I just needed one W. I just needed to find one small win. I just needed to complete one small task to prove to myself that I was capable of doing something. I hear this advice a lot, and for some reason, sometimes if I find myself in a rut, I would think of that advice and I would try, but in the past, I've never really found myself actually reaping the benefits of that effort. I don't know what it was. Maybe I wasn't doing it correctly, but something about me doing that recently, I don't know, it just clicked. It kind of made sense to me. So ultimately, there was one day I was coming home, and I was still in this big rut, super depressed, and I was passing by this Planet Fitness that just opened up nearby me. And just to provide a little bit of context, I've been picking up running recently, and on Strava there's challenges. I completed this one challenge in January, and I ended up receiving this 1 month of free membership at Planet Fitness. So up until maybe 5 days ago, I never took it up. I never actually went there or set it up. I never went on the website to actually claim it. But one day I was on the way home, and I'm like, okay, if I go home now, I'm not gonna do a single thing, and I know that being inside my bed won't fix anything. So I'm already passing by it, so I might as well just do it. I might as well just set it up. And even if I don't end up doing a workout, as like at least I set it up and it's available to me. So I did that. I ended up just I just said fuck it, let's just go. I parked and then I went inside. I set it up. I claimed the free month, signed all the papers, and one thing that's nice about Planet Fitness is that there's no commitment, so I could cancel it at any point. So when my month is starting to finish, I'll consider whether I want to keep the membership or not. It's $15 a month. Anyways, I ended up doing it. But the problem was, um, even in doing that at the time, it did not feel like anything. It just felt like, okay, sure, awesome. At least I have it now. But it didn't feel like an accomplishment, particularly because it did not relate to the core problem within all of the suffering and the rut that I've been in. Or it was not involved with my nursing school essay that I was suffering so much about. Super unrelated. In a way, it kind of felt like I was still avoiding it. Um, I remember that was how I processed it at the time. And in hindsight, I think there is more to it than that. But going back to when I was there, I was like, okay, I'm here. I think let me try to take a small step and just do something. Let me just try to get one little exercise in. So I was trying to think of the exercise that I find fun, that wouldn't harm me a ton. I decided to do some lat pull downs. I did one little warm up set, super easy, and then I did a second set of like very medium weight. It was not heavy. It was probably like 60-70% of the weight I used to lift or pull around 3 months ago when I last worked out. It's been a while, and oh my gosh, it's getting dark. Okay, I'll try to hurry. But actually, hold on. I have a little flashlight on my watch. Oh shoot! Hey, there you go. Awesome. Oh, okay. Awesome. Cool. As I was saying, lat pull down. I did one warm-up set, super easy, just to get the feeling again. It felt super foreign. It's been a long time since I've worked out. And then I did a second set, and it was super light. It was very light. If I were to do a set like that when I was working out a ton 3 months ago, it's baby weight. It's nothing. But I told myself, okay, honestly, that's all I feel like doing. Let me do something else. I ended up doing some cable rows. I did 2 sets of that, and with baby weights, nothing heavy. It felt easy. And then after that, I did 1 set of curls. That one I did 1 set of curls, and then I just left. That's it. Nothing else. And then I got in my car, and then I just drove home. So I think the thing that's of significance within me getting myself to the gym, activating my membership, and doing that little quote unquote baby workout, it's that those little things felt kind of futile as well. It felt like as if it wouldn't really contribute a lot towards getting me out of this rut I was in. It didn't feel like it didn't really help. It didn't necessarily directly help my nursing essay that I was still stressed out about. My essay was still not done. I still needed to actually pull out my laptop and do it. It's not as if going to the gym will fix that. So I found it very easy to minimize that action, and it felt easy to minimize as if, ultimately I would tell myself, it's whatever. I'm still scared of my essay that I still need to do. But in hindsight, I found out that that ended up being that one little tiny win I needed. It ultimately proved to myself that I was capable of leaving my bed, leaving my house, getting out of that vicious cycle of avoidance and just stuckness inside my room. I could get out of it and do something. it proved to myself that I wasn't a lost cause. It proved to myself that I was still capable of doing the things I used to do and that I still wanted to. It proved to myself that I was capable of taking some sort of action in a time where it felt like everything was out of my control. Um, and honestly, that's honestly the biggest thing. And it could be different for other people, but whenever anyone else gives me that advice of just try to find the smallest steps you can take, maybe that's what they meant. Maybe that's the magic they were trying to relay on me and suggest to me, and I was just too, I don't know, maybe in the past it wasn't my time to realize it, and maybe it was my time now. But I realized it regardless, and it helped out. The next day, I actually went on a run, and it had been 2 weeks since I did any single run because I was in my little rut. And granted, it was a shitty run. Oh my god. It was nowhere near the distance or speed or time of what I was running 2 weeks before. And by the end of it, I was so nauseous. I wanted to vomit. That sucked. But and like that too. I remember at the time I did that run, I'm like, oh my god, that was so hard. It felt like all the progress I made before was gone, and that I just couldn't, like, there's no point in me trying again. I think that is, I think I'm very, that's a sort of pattern of thinking that I noticed I always come to. And thinking about it now, it's a pattern of thinking that I've had all my life, so it makes sense why that was sort of what I resorted to. But I think now I'm in a place where I'm aware of it enough where I can I can make a decision of whether or not I want to actually push against that pattern of thinking and see where that takes me. And I think that's something I remember I tried doing that. I tried to push against that pattern of thinking and give myself a pat on the back. Good job, Matt. That was, like, after 2 weeks, that's not that bad. You can still run a full mile without stopping. That's huge. And then after that, the next day I actually went to Davis and I got work done on my essay. It was magical. Granted, I had people there with me to sort of keep me accountable, but even then, that was huge because I had literally just been in 2 weeks of doing not a single thing. Going crazy over the fact that I couldn't even pull out my laptop or get out of bed. And then 3 days later, all of a sudden, I'm just working on my essay. And I got good progress done too. I felt like I woke up. I feel like I got over a lot of the different, like, insecurities or, like, small worries that I was having that was sort of, like, kind of pushing me against my essay. But I got progress done. And then the next day I went to the gym again. I did another workout. What did I do? Oh, it wasn't the most substantial workout either. However, still a workout. And then I also ended up catching up with old friends too. I had a hangout. And at the time, I remember I didn't want to. I was still kind of in my rut, and I was in that mood where I just felt like I wanted to stay home. But I really, really tried hard to just stick with it and just say yes and commit. And it turned out awesome. And after that, like, all of those were just patterns, reoccurrences of just proving to myself that I'm capable of doing something, contrasting that deep, dark rut mindset I was in where I felt like I was incompetent of anything. Like, now I'm like, holy cow, I'm like saying yes to hangouts. I'm able to talk to friends properly, and like we got along awesome. It brought me back to one of those nights like in high school or even college too, where it's like you don't want the night to end just because you're just talking, you're having fun. And then after that, I ended up texting. I made the effort to go out of my way and text an old friend that I hadn't talked to in a while either, which is, I will say, if you guys know me, very out of character. I'm a bad texter, but I managed to find the courage and energy to talk or like text, and it was a nice conversation too. But and that was yesterday. Now today, I went to work, and afterwards, right after work, I like even during my breaks during work, I pulled out my laptop and did work on my essay. I noticed that the fear, the barrier was sort of weakening, decreasing. And then right after my shift ended, I went to Starbucks and I knocked that last essay out. Excuse me. I knocked that last essay out, and right now I feel awesome. And then I felt the inspiration to sort of I felt the inspiration to record this little thing. After work, after finishing my oh my god. After finishing my essay, I went to the gym. I did a workout. I did deadlifts. I ran. Okay, I did some good sets of deadlifts. It wasn't crazy heavy because it's starting out again, but right after I deadlifts, I ran a little bit, but then my back started to hurt, so I stopped and I just went home. But I think even then it became easier to fight the tendency to minimize what I just accomplished, because honestly, it's still huge. So moral of the story: moral of my story, I don't know if this applies to everyone, but I'm just gonna relay the information and you can take what you want of it. If you're in a dark place, it feels like everything fucking sucks, it feels like the world's against you, not anything you do just won't amount to anything, and you're just so tired, you're so tired, it feels like you're running on fumes, you're burnt out. If you find yourself in that place of catching many consecutive L's, the one thing you need is just one little W. It doesn't even matter how small. Just try your best to find that one W. For me, looking back now, if I just like even getting up out of okay, and I'm talking a small W, like if I'm in that rut, literally just taking off my blanket and making an attempt to try to get out of bed, and then if I were to my watch died. Okay, I'm trying to wrap this up. If I were to just take off my blanket to try to make an attempt to get out of bed, but ultimately I succumb to the comfort and warmness of my bed and put the blanket back on, that's still a win. I managed to actually have the executive function to try and get out of it. Even if it didn't result in the final result I wanted, I proved to myself I still had the capability to take action. Even something as freaking small as getting up to brush my teeth. Like, for me, that's a win. Because I struggle with that sometimes, especially when it's a dark time for me. Small wins like that, just try to find that one little tiny W that can get you going. And the one important thing, even if you try that and it still feels tough, try to pay attention to what comes up when you try to think of when you're trying to think of the W's you can take and it feels like it's still not working. Try to sort of reflect on how you're going about trying to think of that action, that next step to take. Maybe you might think of a step of something you can do, and you might feel pushback and feeling as if it won't surmount to anything, as if it won't really matter. Because especially in a rut, you're already like running on fumes and you're burnt out, and it feels like any effort you make won't work and everything will be shit. I feel like it will be very easy to think of a next tiny step and just easily brush it off, feeling as if even if I put in that small amount of effort, it won't amount to anything. Try to fight that. That's the one thing, at least for me, try to fight that one thing. Honestly, lean into, I actually heard this from a psychiatrist podcast. Lean into that one particular thing that you feel won't work. Because in truth, like, it all just comes down to like you don't know what will happen afterwards, and um, usually it's those small things that you don't expect to work that could end up working. And regardless of how you go about it, try to find that one tiny W, and that will create the momentum because you prove to yourself you're capable, and you'll start to stack little tiny W's until at some point you end up finding yourself out of that rut without realizing. And I think the motto that I've been really trying to internalize within myself as I go day to day is just, I think honestly this is my New Year's resolution. Just do more than nothing, because getting up out of bed to brush your teeth and then going back into bed is way more than doing nothing. At least for me. But I think that sort of sums up a lot of my findings as of recent. I'm starting to slowly get out of my rut. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling motivated. I'm still not happy with the state of like my fitness, or like I think I'm still a bit behind. Oh, one last thing. If you fall down, like shit then hit shit. What's the term? Shit can hit the wall fast. Whatever it is, things can go bad super fast and like just totally mess up your mojo. Um, you can fall down and feel defeated super fast in an instant. And one thing you gotta remember is it is 100% possible to get back to where you were. You've done it so many times in the past, but it's just going to take longer. And you cannot expect things to just fix right away. And I think sometimes what makes moments like that difficult is because of how fast you fall, or because of how fast things go to shit. You want to get back to where you were before super quick too, and you start to think of like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be impossible to get back to where I was in that amount of time. Sometimes it is impossible, but sometimes it's impossible to get back to that point within that short amount of time. But it is not impossible. It is 100% possible to get back to where you were before. It will just take time, and you gotta learn to, or I personally gotta learn to expect that and not expect it to be quick. I gotta learn to be okay with how long it takes and just trust that I'll get back there. And honestly, even if it takes longer, I think even if it takes a longer amount of time, I'll still be happy and proud of myself in knowing that I worked hard to get back to where I was. It'll still feel like an achievement, but I just gotta give myself the chance to even try and get there. Consistency, tenacity. Gotta just fucking do it. Do the things that I feel like won't work. This ended up being the longest one I ever recorded out of all today. But I think after working out, I think my mind was super clear. I think I was able to be more coherent. I think the past takes that I did before helped with the order of how I talk about things. I had a better sense of what it was I was going to say. So ultimately, those takes did help. I don't know how I'm going to do it in the future. I still want to practice spontaneous talking and getting better at being more well-spoken. But I think the one thing is that I want to prove to myself, I want to be able to see what a like with these little mini podcasts, I want to see what consistent effort results in, and I want to be able to reap the benefits of it. I've never seen that before. I feel like there's nothing that really truly comes to mind when I try to think of me making an active effort to be consistent with something and then reaping the benefits from it. I've always fallen out of something. I would always put something to the side to prioritize something else, and then everything falls apart. But I think one thing I really want to do this year is just be consistent and prove to myself that one, I'm capable of it, and two, see what it's like, because I deserve to see what it's like. I'm jumping around. I'm gonna stop this now before I start talking a bunch of bullshit, and make this even longer. We'll see where this goes. Sunlight's gone, or the sunrise is gone. It's very dark now. It's kind of cold, but I'm happy with how this one went. So thank you. Bye bye.